Welcome to Science Store online classes.
Don't forget to like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel for all the updates.
Dear students, welcome back to Biology online classes. I'm sure that you are all doing great. Okay. The chapter what we are all discussing is about structural organization in animals. Under this chapter, in the previous sessions, we have seen the different types of animal tissues. Out of 4 different types, we have already studied 3 different types of animal tissues. That is, one epithelial tissue, second one connective tissue, third one the muscular tissue. Now in today's session we are going to study about the 4th type of the animal tissue, that is the neural tissue. Or also called as the nervous tissue. Let me draw the diagram of this neural tissue first, then I will going to explain you. So note down the diagram, very important for 5 marks. So very important diagram for how many marks? 5 marks. So along with me you have to draw the diagram. I think in the high school also you have studied about the particular structure of this neuron, isn't it? Huh? So how it is? Is it branched? Yes? Is it branched, students? So it is a branched structure, correct? Okay. Further, you are going to study these details of this particular structure in your chapter Neural Control and Coordination. So, to draw very beautifully the diagram. Now, as you know, it is highly branched structure, correct? So, you have to show that branching. It has got branched like branches of a tree. Okay, so I'll write here structure of a neuron. The nucleus, there are Nissel's granules. So draw the diagram. Label this as Nissel's granules. Or also called as trigoid bodies. Typical nucleus. These are the dendrites. Dendrites plural and dendron singular. Okay. Now this cell is called as Schwann cell. It covers a sheath. That sheath is called as, it secretes a sheath. That is, sheath is called as a myelin sheath. Then you can see here there are nodes. These are called as nodes of Ranvier. So this entire structure is called as the axon. These structures, this is the telodendron. What is that? Telodendron. Then axonal terminal. This is nothing but the axonal terminal. Axonal terminal. They are called as what? Telodendron. Or these branches, they are called as telodendrites, plural. These are the synaptic knobs. Okay. Now just we will see what are neural tissue. So, neural tissue is a very important tissue. It is the structural and functional unit of a nervous system that is called as neuron. So, the neural tissue contains two parts. One is neuron, another one is neuroglial cells. One is neuron, another one is neuroglial cells. So, what are neurons? Neurons are structural and functional units of nervous system. Those are the neurons. Now, what are neuroglial cells? The neuroglial cells, they will surround these neurons and they supports and protects the neurons. So, neuroglial cells surrounds the neurons and supports protects the neurons. More than half of our nervous system comprises of neuroglial cells. Their number outrages the number of neurons. ನ್ಯೂರಾನ್ಸ್ಗಳಿಗಿಂತಲೂ ನ್ಯೂರೋಗ್ಲಿಯಲ್ ಸೆಲ್ಸ್ನ ನಂಬರ್ ತುಂಬ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ನ್ಯೂರೋಗ್ಲಿಯಲ್ ಸೆಲ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ ಅಂದರೆ ನ್ಯೂರಾನ್ಸಿಗೆ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ಪ್ರೊಟೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ನ್ಯೂರಾನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ವಾಟ್? ನ್ಯೂರಾನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ಅದು ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರಲ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನಲ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಅವರ್ ನರ್ವಸ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್. ನೆಫ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರಲ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನಲ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಅವರ್ kidney. Correct? Like that, neurons are structural and functional unit of a nervous system. Let's study the structure of a typical neuron. If you take a neuron, it has got three parts. One is the dendrites, second one is the axon, and the third one is the cell body. Cell body is also called as cyton or soma. Cyton or soma. So what are the three parts of the typical neuron? Dendrites, cell body, also called as cyton or soma, and the third one is the axon. Number 1, number 2, number 3. Okay, now what are these dendrites do? You can see the dendrites are highly branched structure. They branch like a branch of a tree. They are the receiving end. When you stimulate a nerve cell or a nerve tissue, it passes the electrical impulses or the electrical signals from one neuron or nerve cell to another nerve cell, another neuron. So those electrical signals or impulses received, this is the receiving end, received by the dendrites. After receiving, the dendrites will passes these signals to another structure that is called as the cell body or cyton or soma. This cyton or the cell body or the soma, it contains cytoplasm as well as the nucleus. Contains cytoplasm as well as the nucleus. Apart from there are small granules, Kalinakara structures which are discovered by scientists Nissels. So they are called as Nissels granules, also called as tragoid bodies. And what they contains? They contains ribosomes attached to endoplasmic reticulum. Ribosomes attached to endoplasmic reticulum. What are ribosomes? Ribosomes are the protein factories of the cell. Protein manufacture ಮಾಡುವ ವರ್ಕ್ ribosomes ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. So there is another important cell organelle, it is called as endoplasmic reticulum. ಈ ಎಂಡೋಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಮಿಕ್ ರೆಟಿಕ್ಯುಲಮಿಗೆ ರೈಬೋಸೋಮ್ಸ್ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ ಆ ಎಂಡೋಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಮಿಕ್ ರೆಟಿಕ್ಯುಲಮ್ ಅನ್ನು ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ರಫ್ ಎಂಡೋಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಮಿಕ್ ರೆಟಿಕ್ಯುಲಮ್. ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ಈ ಎಂಡೋಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಮಿಕ್ ರೆಟಿಕ್ಯುಲಮಿಗೆ ರೈಬೋಸೋಮ್ಸ್ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಾದರೆ ದೆನ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ endoplasmic reticulum is called as smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Now what is endoplasmic reticulum? What is the function? You are going to study detail in cell chapter, cell the unit of life. But These endoplasmic reticulums, they are very much important component of the cell. And what is the function? Can anybody guess? Endoplasmic reticulum. If the ribosomes are attached, then they are involved in, I said, protein synthesis. Then it is called as rough endoplasmic reticulum. So, of course, the smooth endoplasmic reticulum is the site for synthesis of lipids. You know, lipids, fats, oil, ghee, all these are examples for fats. Okay. So, ಲಿಪಿಡ್ಗಳು ಕೊಬ್ಬು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ, ಅದನ್ನು ಸಿಂಥಸಿಸ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಮೂತ್ ಎಂಡೋಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಮಿಕ್ ರೆಟಿಕ್ಯುಲಮ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಪ್ರೋಟೀನ್ ಸಿಂಥಸಿಸ್ಗೆ ರಫ್ ಎಂಡೋಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಮಿಕ್ ರೆಟಿಕ್ಯುಲಮ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ Nissel's granules are nothing but they contain the endoplasmic reticulum to which the ribosomes are attached. This is about the cell body or cytone or soma. So the signals which are sent by the dendrites are received by the cell body or the cytone, from where the signal will pass to a long structure of the neuron that is called as the axon. Now the electrical signal is coming to the axon. So it travels all along the length of the axon. The signals travel all along the length of this axon. The outer covering, that is called as the plasma membrane. What is called as plasma membrane. Earlier it was called as cell membrane. Now it is called as the plasma membrane. Now, surrounding the plasma membrane, you can see the types of cells. Those are called as Schwann cells. What they are called as? Schwann cells. The Schwann cells are discovered by the scientist Schwann, so they are called as Schwann cells. And these Schwann cells, they secrete a proteinaceous sheath. That proteinaceous sheath is called as the myelin sheath. What is called as? The myelin sheath. Myelin is a type of protein. Now, if this myelin sheath is present surrounding the plasma membrane, then such neurons are called as myelinated neurons. They are called as myelinated neurons. Myelinated neurons. So, who will synthesize this myelin? That is by the Schwann cells. If sometimes the myelin sheath is not present, the myelin sheath is not present in all the neurons. If it is absent, then such neurons are called as non-myelinated neurons. They are called as non-myelinated neurons. Now, this myelin sheath acts like a insulin coating. If you take a wire, okay, the copper wire, it is surrounded by the plastic, isn't it, that provides the insulation that will prevent the leakage of the electric current. Similarly, this myelin sheaths prevent the leakage of the electrical signals generated in the body by the nervous system. Okay, but there are gaps. The myelin sheath is not continuous along the length of the axon, but there are gaps. You may call them as nodes. You see, in case of plants, there are nodes and internodes, correct? These are the nodes, and in between the nodes you can see the internodes. So like that, in the axon also there are nodes, that is a gap between this myelin sheath. So the electrical signals can jump directly from one node to another node. It will jump from one node to another node. These nodes are discovered by a scientist Ranvier. So it is called as nodes of Ranvier. ರಣವೀರನ ನೋಡುಗಳೆಂದು ಕರೆಯಲಾಗುತ್ತದೆ. It's called as nodes of Ranvier. So if the myelin sheath is present, then the electrical impulses or the electrical signals which are generated are moved from one neuron to another neuron, which move all along the axon with a greater speed because it jumps from one node to another node. It jumps from one node to another node. Okay, so they conduct the impulses at a very faster rate. Such conduction is called as saltatory conduction. It's called as saltatory conduction. So myelin sheath is very beneficial to the neurons because speedy conduction of nerve impulses can take place. Electrical signals or the nerve impulses can take place at a very faster rate. So they start to jump from one node of Ranvier to another node of Ranvier. The node of Ranvier. Nodes means plural. So ಈ myelin sheath ಇದ್ರೂ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಇಲ್ಲದೇ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. If myelin sheath is present, then they are called as myelinated neurons. If it is absent, then they are called as, those neurons are called as non-myelinated neurons. So from the axon, then it will come to the end of the axon, which is called as axonal terminal. The signals will come to the end of the axon, that is called as the axonal terminal. And they have also branches. These branches are called as telodendrites. Telodendron on the singular, telodendrites on the plural. So ಈ telodendrites ನ ತುದಿಯಲ್ಲಿ at the tip they have knobs. Those knobs are called as synaptic knobs. They are called as synaptic knobs. Inside which there are synaptic vesicles are present. What are present? Synaptic vesicles. Now, what is the function of these synaptic vesicles? They contain certain chemicals, okay, which helps the transmission of the signals from one neuron to another neuron. Okay, so between one neuron to another neuron, see from the axonal terminal, the signals will transmitted to the dendrite of the successive neuron. It will transmitted to the dendrite of another neuron. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ನ್ಯೂರಾನ್ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ನ್ಯೂರಾನ್ನಿಂದ ಮತ್ತೊಂದು ನ್ಯೂರಾನಿಗೆ ಇದ್ರೆ it receives the signals. So there is a connection between one neuron to another neuron. So it is a very long length. If you remove all the nerves or the neurons from your body, you can take the round of earth 3.5 times. You can rotate. You can take the rotation of the earth 3.5 times. Such a huge number of neurons are present in our body. Amazing, isn't it? ಬಟ್ ದೀಸ್ ನ್ಯೂರಾನ್ಸ್ ಒಂದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿರುವಾಗ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸಣ್ಣ ಒಂದು ಮಿಲಿಮೀಟರ್ನಷ್ಟು ಗ್ಯಾಪ್ ಇದೆ. ದಿಸ್ ಗ್ಯಾಪ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಸಿನಾಪ್ಸ್. ದಿಸ್ ಗ್ಯಾಪ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಸಿನಾಪ್ಸ್. ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ CET ನೀಟಿಗೆ. ಸೊ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ millimeter ಗ್ಯಾಪ್ ಆಫ್ synapse is present between the two successive neurons. So whatever the electrical impulses are which pass from one neuron to another neuron, they have to cross through this synapse. They need to cross this particular gap, that is the synapse. So this is about your structure of a neuron. Once again you are going to study in a neural control and coordination this particular aspect. Okay students? So nervous system means it has got two components. One is the neurons, another one is the neuroglial cells. Neurons are the structural and functional units of nervous system. whereas the neuroglial cells surrounds the neurons and supports and protect these neurons. Okay. So, when a nerve cell is stimulated, the electrical impulses are received by the dendrites and it will pass to the cyton, and from the cyton it will pass along the length of the axon, moves to the axonal terminal, and it will passes through the gap synapse, and it is received by the dendrite of the next neuron or the successive neuron. So, when these signals are passed, it may stimulate the neighboring neurons or it may inhibit. That means the electrical impulses, they may be stimulatory or may be inhibitory. The electrical impulses, it may stimulate another neuron so that the impulses will continuously pass to another neuron, or it may be what? Inhibitory, or just it will inhibit, stop the signals there itself. Okay, so all these details we are going to study in human physiology chapter, that is neural control and coordination. So for this particular chapter, that is structural organization in animals, under neural tissue, this much concepts or aspects are enough. You have to draw the diagram and mark it as very important for 5 marks under neural tissue. So this diagram is very important for 5 marks. So follow students. So by this we have come to the end of the animal tissue, that is the first part of the structural organization in animals. And in the next class I will explain you the second part of the structural organization in animals, that is morphology and anatomical aspects of earthworm, cockroach as well as frog. So dear students, note down all the important points which are written on the boards and note down my lecture points, and thank you for watching the video.
Don't forget to like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel for all the updates.